Robert Blake, Bonnie Lee Bakley, 2001. On the night of May 4, 2001, Bonnie Lee Bakley sat alone in her husband, Robert Blake's black 1991 Dodge Stealth outside Vitello's restaurant in Studio City, California. Moments earlier, Blake had walked her to the car, claimed he had forgotten his revolver inside the eatery, and stepped away. When he returned, Bakley had been shot twice, once in the cheek and once in the head, through the passenger side window. No witnesses saw the gunman. Detectives found Blake's registered Beretta inside the restaurant, but ballistic tests showed a different .8 caliber weapon had been used. Over the next 10 months, investigators pieced together circumstantial evidence, cash withdrawals, alleged hitman meetings, and Bakley's tumultuous relationship history. In April 2002, Blake was arrested for murder. His longtime bodyguard, Earl Caldwell, was charged as an accomplice. Prosecutors said Blake had tried to hire 2 stuntmen to kill Bakley, then carried out the shooting himself when they refused. At trial in early 2005, the defense attacked witness credibility, stressing that the stuntman admitted to heavy drug use. The murder weapon was never recovered, DNA was inconclusive, and the jury acquitted Blake on March 16, 2005. 2 months later, a civil jury found him liable for wrongful death and ordered him to pay Bakley's children $30 million, later reduced to $15 million. Financially ruined, Blake declared bankruptcy and retreated from public life until his death in 2023 at age 89. The case remains technically unsolved, but Blake's career and legacy were permanently overshadowed by that night in Studio City. 2. Albert Salmei, Roberta Salmei, 1990. Shortly after sunrise on April 23, 1990, sheriff's deputies responding to a welfare check in Spokane, Washington, found veteran character actor Albert Salmei lying on the carpet of his bedroom with a single gunshot wound to the head. In an adjacent room was the body of his estranged wife, Roberta Pollock Salmei, also shot once at close range. Investigators reconstructed the grim scene. Roberta had recently filed for divorce, citing financial strain and Salmei's volatile moods. Friends said the couple clashed over dwindling savings and her plans to sell their jointly owned house. That morning, Albert confronted Roberta with a .22 caliber rifle, shot her, then penned a brief note, never publicly released, and killed himself. Because both wounds were contact shots and the rifle lay beneath Albert's body, authorities ruled it a murder-suicide. Autopsy reports showed no drugs or alcohol in either victim. The news stunned Salmei's peers, who knew him for roles in Gunsmoke, The Twilight Zone, and Broadway's Bus Stop. In the months that followed, probate court valued his estate at under $40,000. Proceeds paid funeral costs and Roberta's medical bills. Salmei's 2 adult daughters later spoke about their father's untreated depression and money worries. With no surviving spouse, control of his residual acting income transferred to the heirs. Today, fans rediscover Salmei's work on classic TV channels, yet every biography ends with the tragic final act that unfolded in a quiet Spokane neighborhood. A stark reminder that private despair can fester even behind a resume of steady success. 3. Phil Hartman, Bryn Hartman, 1998. In the early hours of May 28, 1998, the tranquility of Encino, California, was shattered by 2 gunshots inside comedian Phil Hartman's bedroom. His wife, Bryn Omdahl Hartman, had returned home from dinner and drinks with a friend, ingested cocaine, alcohol, and the antidepressant Zoloft, then retrieved Phil's Charter Arms .38 revolver from a nightstand. She shot him once in the right side, once in the neck, killing him almost instantly. Bryn then drove to the home of producer Ron Douglas, confessed through tears and returned with him to the house. While Douglas dialed 911 and ushered the Hartmans' 2 children from the hallway, Bryn locked herself in the bedroom and fired a final round into her own head. Police arrived within minutes, but could only confirm both were dead. Toxicology later revealed Bryn's blood alcohol level at 0.12% and traces of cocaine and sertraline. Friends testified that the marriage, though outwardly loving, was strained by Bryn's insecurity about Phil's rising fame on Saturday Night Live, The Simpsons, and News Radio. In the aftermath, the Hartman children were adopted by Phil's brother and moved to Wisconsin, shielded from media glare. NBC aired tearful tributes, and News Radio rewrote its storyline to explain Phil's absence. Zoloft manufacturer Pfizer settled quietly after Bryn's family filed a wrongful death suit, alleging the drug contributed to her violence. Terms remain sealed. 27 years later, fans recall Phil Hartman's dozens of voices, but the abrupt violence that ended his life serves as a cautionary tale about substance abuse and untreated mental illness. 4. Stephanie Mosley and Earl Hayes, 2014. At 7:30 a.m. on December 8, 2014, residents of the upscale Palazzo East Apartments in Los Angeles dialed 911 after hearing a rapid series of gunshots. Inside Unit 5210, police discovered the bodies of dancer-actress Stephanie Mosley and her husband, rapper Earl Hayes. Detectives learned that Hayes, distraught over rumors of Stephanie's infidelity, had been on FaceTime with boxing champion Floyd Mayweather Jr. moments before the violence. According to Mayweather, an enraged Hayes waved a handgun, confronted Stephanie, then fired at least a dozen rounds, striking her multiple times. Hayes turned the weapon on himself as Stephanie lay dying. Forensic teams recovered a Glock 9mm pistol beside Hayes's body and determined all shell casings matched that firearm. Autopsy reports confirmed Stephanie sustained gunshot wounds to her head and torso. Hayes died of a self-inflicted shot under the chin. No suicide note existed, but text messages later revealed Hayes had threatened violence in past arguments. Industry colleagues flooded social media with shock. Stephanie, 30, had danced for Beyoncé, Chris Brown, and appeared on VH1's Hit the Floor. Investigators closed the case as murder-suicide within weeks, citing overwhelming evidence and FaceTime witness testimony. Hayes was cremated privately. Stephanie's memorial drew hundreds from the dance community. In the years since, her friends launched the Steph Mosley Foundation to promote relationship counseling resources for performers under intense career pressure, hoping to prevent jealous rage from claiming more lives. 5. Oscar Pistorius and Riva Steenkamp, 2013. Shortly after 3 a.m. on Valentine's Day 2013, 4 loud bangs echoed through Oscar Pistorius's Pretoria townhouse. Alarmed neighbors called security, and police arrived to find Riva Steenkamp's bloodied body at the foot of the stairs. Minutes earlier, Pistorius had fired his licensed 9mm parabellum pistol through a locked toilet room door, hitting Riva in the hip, arm, and head. He claimed he thought she was a burglar. Prosecutors argued it was an impulsive act after a heated argument. Forensics showed Pistorius, on his stumps, shot downward through the door panels. Riva had been standing, facing the door, likely screaming. The 41-day televised trial gripped the world. Judge Thokozile Masipa initially convicted him of culpable homicide and handed down a 5-year sentence. The state appealed, and in December 2015, South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal upgraded the conviction to murder, citing reckless intent. Pistorius's term was increased to 13 years and 5 months. Throughout, Riva's parents campaigned for gender-based violence awareness, founding the Riva Steenkamp Foundation. Pistorius became eligible for parole in 2023, but remains at Atteridgeville Correctional Center pending psychological reports. The door with bullet holes is preserved as evidence, a mute symbol of how a national hero's fear, or anger, triggered the irreversible loss of a 29-year-old woman destined for a bright career in law and media. 6. Tom Neal, Gail Bennett, 1965. Around noon on October 2, 1965, B-movie actor and former boxer Tom Neal placed a frantic call to Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies, claiming he had accidentally shot his third wife, Gail Bennett, during a struggle over a .45 caliber Colt pistol. Responders found Bennett dead on the hallway floor of their Palm Springs home, a bullet lodged in the back of her head. Blood spatter suggested she was kneeling or crouching when shot, a detail contradicting Neal's account that the gun discharged while he was cleaning it. Prosecutors charged him with murder, but a jury, swayed by defense arguments of negligence rather than malice, convicted Neal of involuntary manslaughter. He received a sentence of 6 years. Good behavior allowed parole after roughly 3. Upon release, Neal worked as a gardener and landscaper, living quietly until a heart attack killed him in 1972. Hollywood largely erased his name, yet film noir enthusiasts still debate whether justice was served or a celebrity received leniency. The property where Gail died was later demolished, leaving no physical reminder of the tragedy. Only archival court transcripts detailing a marriage plagued by jealousy, woes, and Tom Neal's infamous temper that once led him to assault actor Franchot Tone in a 1951 love triangle fist fight. 7. Michael Jace, April Jace, 2014. At 8:30 p.m. on May 19, 2014, neighbors in Los Angeles' Hyde Park district heard gunfire followed by children's screams from the home of actor Michael Jace. Inside, April Jace, a master's-level track athlete and mother of 2, lay on the floor with 3 gunshot wounds, 2 to her legs, 1 to her back. Michael dialed 911 within minutes, confessing, "I shot my wife." Responding officers arrested him without resistance. Investigators learned the couple argued over finances and Michael's suspicions about April's friendships. Ballistics matched his Smith & Wesson .40 handgun, and detectives retrieved texts showing Michael threatened to hurt April where she hurt me, in the wallet and in the heart. Prosecutors painted a picture of calculated cruelty, shooting April's legs first so she could feel pain before the fatal round. In May 2016, a jury found Michael guilty of second-degree murder, and the judge imposed a sentence of 40 years to life, 25 years minimum for murder, plus 15 years for firearm enhancement. April's parents gained custody of the boys, now teenagers, who testified in a victim's impact statement that they still hear the shots in nightmares. Michael, incarcerated at Corcoran State Prison, has been denied all appeals. April's sprinter teammates created the April Jace Memorial 5K, raising funds for children affected by domestic violence. 8. Gig Young, Kim Schmidt, 1978. On the afternoon of October 19, 1978, building staff at Manhattan's historic Osborne Apartments unlocked Unit 15H after smelling gunpowder. They discovered Oscar-winning actor Gig Young face down on the bedroom floor, clutching a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver. Nearby lay his 31-year-old bride, Kim Schmidt, shot in the back of the head. The couple had married just 3 weeks earlier. A diary entry from their wedding day remained open on a desk. There was no suicide note, but toxicology detected alcohol and barbiturates in Gig's system. Investigators found unpaid bills, a canceled TV pilot, and medical records revealing chronic depression and alcohol dependency dating back 2 decades. Friends recounted that Young feared bankruptcy despite past success in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? With no third-party evidence, NYPD ruled the case a murder-suicide. Kim's family sued Young's estate but recovered little. Probate valued it under $200,000, primarily the Oscar statuette, which eventually passed to Young's daughter after legal wrangling. The Academy now stores the award in its archives, a bittersweet token of talent overshadowed by tragedy. Hollywood historians cite the case when discussing mental health neglect among mid-century stars. 9. Russel Neil, Catherine Martinez, 2014. On July 2, 2014, R&B singer Russel Neil walked into a Harris County Sheriff's Station and calmly announced, "I need a lawyer. My wife is dead." Deputies rushed to the couple's Houston townhouse, finding 24-year-old fitness model Catherine Martinez on the living room floor, stabbed multiple times and bludgeoned with a dumbbell. Their 2 young sons were unharmed upstairs. Forensic examiners identified over 40 sharp force wounds. Neal invoked his right to silence. Detectives uncovered a history of domestic violence reports Catherine had filed, but later withdrew. Charged with first-degree murder, Neal was deemed incompetent in 2017 after psychiatrists diagnosed him with delusional disorder. He was committed to a maximum security state hospital for treatment. Annual reviews have repeatedly found him mentally unfit to stand trial, meaning the case remains in legal limbo. Catherine's family raises her children and campaigns for tougher mental health interventions when partners display violent behavior. Neal's former group, High Five, distanced itself, and royalties from its 1990s hits are now escrowed pending civil litigation. The townhouse sold at auction. Neighbors say no one discusses the grisly past, but the legal question, will Russel Neil ever face a jury, lingers. 10. Chris Benoit, Nancy and Daniel, 2007. Between June 22 and June 24, 2007, World Wrestling Entertainment star Chris Benoit methodically ended the lives of his wife, Nancy, and their 7-year-old son, Daniel, inside their Fayetteville, Georgia, home. Autopsies showed Nancy was bound, strangled, and wrapped in a towel. Daniel was sedated with Xanax, then strangled. Benoit placed Bibles beside each body, performed Google searches about the prophet Elijah, and finally hanged himself using a lat pulley. A 3-day gap between deaths allowed Benoit to send cryptic texts to colleagues. "My physical address is 130 Green Meadow Lane." When police conducted the welfare check, they uncovered the horror. Toxicology revealed elevated testosterone, but no steroids. Later studies of Benoit's brain at West Virginia University showed severe chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, similar to an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. WWE immediately canceled live events, erased Benoit's name from broadcasts, and implemented concussion protocols. Nancy's family sued the company, but settled confidentially. Daniel's school dedicated a playground in his honor. Benoit's former peers still debate whether repetitive head trauma, anabolic substances, or hidden depression triggered the violence. But his once-celebrated legacy remains permanently tainted. 11. O.J. Simpson, Nicole and Ron, 1994. At 12:10 a.m. on June 13, 1994, dog walkers discovered Nicole Brown Simpson and waiter Ron Goldman stabbed to death outside Nicole's Brentwood condo. Detectives found a bloody glove, shoe prints, and DNA leading to Nicole's ex-husband, football legend O.J. Simpson. 5 days later, Simpson failed to surrender, triggering the infamous white Bronco chase, viewed by 95 million people. At trial, prosecutors presented DNA evidence matching Simpson at 1 in 57 billion odds. But defense attorneys argued LAPD mishandling and racial bias, immortalizing the phrase, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit," after Simpson struggled to don the blood-stained glove. On October 3, 1995, the jury returned a not guilty verdict. In 1997, a civil jury found Simpson liable for wrongful deaths, awarding $33.5 million to the victims' families. Only a fraction has been paid. Simpson moved to Florida, protected by homestead laws, then served 9 years for armed robbery in Nevada before parole in 2017. He remains a divisive figure, giving occasional interviews while posting golf selfies. The Brentwood condo has new residents, but tourists still pause outside, reflecting on a case that reshaped how America views celebrity justice and forensic DNA. 12. Sid Vicious, Nancy Spungen, 1978. Sometime between 3 a.m. and 10 a.m. on October 12, 1978, punk icon Sid Vicious awoke in room 100 of New York's Chelsea Hotel to find girlfriend Nancy Spungen lying on the bathroom floor with a single stab wound to the abdomen. A blood-spattered hunting knife, purchased days earlier, bore Sid's fingerprints. Police arrived after Sid called the front desk in a daze, admitting, "I did it. I can't remember." Charged with second-degree murder, Sid was released on $50,000 bail paid by Virgin Records. While awaiting trial, he overdosed on barbiturates, slashed his wrist, and assaulted Patti Smith's brother at a nightclub, prompting rearrest. On February 1, 1979, 4 months after Nancy's death, Sid's mother supplied him with heroin to celebrate his release on bail. He died that night of an overdose. The murder case closed unsolved. Conspiracy theories claim a drug dealer or rival punk killed Nancy, but no evidence surfaced. The Chelsea hotel room became punk folklore, inspiring books, and the film Sid and Nancy. Nancy's mother founded families of murder victims. Sid's brief, chaotic life is often cited in addiction awareness programs, illustrating how substance abuse erodes memory, judgment, and, ultimately, accountability. 13. Clauddine Longet, Spider Sabich, 1976. On March 21, 1976, Olympic skier Vladimir Spider Sabich lay bleeding on the bathroom floor of his Aspen chalet, a .22 caliber Ivy Johnson handgun having discharged into his abdomen from 3 feet away. His girlfriend, French-American singer Clauddine Longet, cradled him as he whispered, "I love you," with his final breaths. Police noted inconsistent statements. Longet claimed the gun fired while Spider demonstrated its operation, yet she had powder burns on her hands and no bullet exit hole appeared where she said he stood. Investigators mishandled key evidence, seizing Longet's blood sample and diary without warrants, rendering them inadmissible. Toxicology later indicated Longet had cocaine in her system. At trial, prosecutors, lacking the diary's references to recent relationship quarrels, pursued negligent homicide instead of murder. A jury convicted her, fining $250 and sentencing her to 30 days in jail, served on weekends so she could care for her 3 children. Public outrage grew when Longet vacationed with her defense attorney Ron Austin, later her husband, during sentencing gaps. Spider's family filed a civil suit, settled confidentially under the condition Longet never discussed the shooting. She has lived privately in Aspen ever since, rarely appearing in public, while Spider's legacy survives in ski racing lore and a memorial run named Spider's Spur. 14. Jovan Belcher, Cassandra Perkins, 2012. At 7:50 a.m. on December 1st, 2012, Kansas City Chiefs linebacker Jovan Belcher fatally shot his girlfriend, Cassandra Perkins, 9 times in their bedroom while their 3-month-old daughter slept nearby, and Belcher's visiting mother watched in horror. Belcher kissed the baby, apologized to his mother, and sped to the Chiefs' practice facility. In the parking lot, he confronted head coach Romeo Crennel and general manager Scott Pioli, thanked them for their support, knelt beside his Bentley, and shot himself in the head as police arrived. Belcher's blood alcohol level registered 0.17%, and autopsy later showed early-stage CTE. Reports revealed the couple argued over Belcher's late-night partying and alleged infidelity hours before the shooting. The NFL proceeded with the Chiefs-Panthers game the next day after a moment of silence for domestic violence victims, sparking debate over league priorities. Perkins's family assumed custody of Zoe Belcher, receiving $1 million in NFL life insurance benefits. Extensive lawsuits by relatives led to a 2015 settlement acknowledging the probability of brain injury. The practice facility parking spot remains unmarked. The tragedy accelerated the NFL's focus on mental health, player counseling, and anti-domestic violence campaigns. 15. Ray Kuth, Cherika Adams, 1999. At 12:35 a.m. on November 16, 1999, real estate agent Cherika Adams made a frantic 911 call after being shot 4 times while driving in South Charlotte, North Carolina. She identified the car that had blocked her as belonging to her boyfriend, Carolina Panthers wide receiver Ray Kuth. Investigators determined Kuth had conspired with nightclub manager Van Brett Watkins and 2 accomplices to kill Adams and avoid child support payments for her unborn son. Adams delivered the baby, Chancellor Lee Adams, via emergency C-section before dying a month later. Chancellor suffered cerebral palsy from oxygen loss. Kuth fled, but was captured in Tennessee, hiding in a trunk with $3,000 and bottled urine. A 2001 jury convicted him of conspiracy to commit murder, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and using a deadly weapon to destroy an unborn child. He received 18 years, 11 months in prison, released October 2018. Watkins drew a minimum 40-year sentence. Kuth publicly apologized, but was barred from contacting Chancellor, whom Cherika's mother, Sandra Adams, raises with charitable support. Kuth lives quietly in Pennsylvania under another name. Chancellor, now 25, inspires others overcoming disabilities, spotlighting the ripple effects of violent choices. 16. William S. Burroughs, Joan Vollmer, 1951. On September 6, 1951, at a Mexico City party, beat writer William S. Burroughs proposed a William Tell act. Joan Vollmer would balance a shot glass on her head, while he fired his Belgian-made .380 pistol. Burroughs missed. The bullet struck Joan above the left eye, killing her within minutes. Burroughs told police the gun slipped from his hand, discharging accidentally. Witnesses contradicted one another, some claiming the couple argued beforehand about Burroughs's heroin use and Joan's drinking. Charged with culpable homicide, Burroughs spent 13 days in Lecumberri prison before his family paid $2,000 bail and bribed officials. A legal advisor arranged for repeated postponements until Burroughs fled Mexico. Tried in absentia, he received a 2-year suspended sentence. Mexican authorities never sought extradition. In later essays, Burroughs called Joan's death the unknowable factor that motivated his writing career. Critics argue literary greatness should not eclipse accountability. Joan, considered the intellectual center of early beat gatherings, was buried in Texas. Her children grew up with relatives, largely excluded from Burroughs's life. The pistol resides in a private collection. The bar where the fatal trick began is now a tourist stop on Beat Generation walking tours, illustrating how reckless gunplay and substance abuse claimed a brilliant mind. 17. Faye DeWitt, Ray Allen, 1965. On the stormy night of July 8, 1965, Broadway actress Faye DeWitt heard glass shatter as her intoxicated ex-husband, playwright Ray Allen, smashed through her Los Angeles apartment window, raging over their recent divorce. Grabbing the nearest object, a decorative letter opener, DeWitt warned him to leave. Allen lunged. During the struggle, the blade pierced his chest, severing an artery. DeWitt fled, hysterical, to a neighbor who phoned police. Officers arrived to find Allen dead, the letter opener still embedded. Prosecutors initially charged DeWitt with second-degree murder, but forensic analysts confirmed defensive wounds on her arms and no alcohol in her blood versus Allen's 0.28% BAC. Witness testimony of his history of violence shifted the narrative. Within 3 weeks, the district attorney dropped all charges, classifying the killing as justifiable self-defense. DeWitt returned to stage work, yet producers sometimes blacklisted her, fearing bad press. She later toured regional theater under a married name, rarely granting interviews. The apartment building was renovated. DeWitt's unit became a laundry room. But neighbors preserved lore of the night a petite actress fought for her life and reshaped California's discourse on women's right to self-defense. 18. Bertrand Kanti, Marie Trintignant, 2003. In a Vilnius hotel room on July 26, 2003, French rock singer Bertrand Kanti punched actress Marie Trintignant at least 4 times during a jealous quarrel, causing irreversible brain swelling. Instead of calling an ambulance, Kanti left her unconscious for hours before summoning help. Marie was airlifted to Paris, but died on August 1st. Lithuanian prosecutors charged Kanti with homicide committed with indirect intent. At trial, he claimed he slapped her. Medical examiners counted 19 facial bruises and 2 cranial bone fractures consistent with a closed fist beating. Convicted in March 2004, he received 8 years, the maximum under Lithuanian law, but served only 4 in France due to parole for good behavior. Public backlash erupted when he attempted a musical comeback in 2010. Protests led festivals to cancel appearances. In 2010, Kanti's ex-wife, Christina Rady, died by suicide. Her parents blamed years of psychological abuse. Marie's mother, actress Nadine Trintignant, campaigns for stricter domestic violence penalties, citing Kanti's lenient sentence. The hotel gutted the room and renumbered floors, trying to erase the memory. Yet French media revisit the case annually, asking how many blows equal murder and whether celebrity privilege influenced early release. These narratives reveal a blunt truth. Violence inside relationships devastates families, careers, and communities, no matter how famous the people are. If anger, jealousy, or fear ever feels out of control, reach out. Call a friend, a counselor, or emergency services before a split-second decision destroys multiple lives.